Okay.
This is live.
Hey, everybody out there. It's been a long time since you have. No, it hasn't. I'm lying. It's been a long time since I've done this podcast. This is thank. This is. I pray this helps. By Keith Roberson. Um, thank you for tuning in. Today I have a special guest with me. By the name of Maggie Chambers. Um, Maggie has. Um, a great ministry that she is doling out to the world. And I'm super excited to ask her these questions because these are questions that I want to know the answer to. And I'm sure other people would love to know the answer to. And I'm sure she would love to answer them for us. And so I pray that this helps. So, Maggie, how are you?
I am doing really well. Hungry, ready for dinner, but today is a great day.
Good, good. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm keeping you from
No, no,
from
no, you're
eating.
okay. You're okay.
Yeah. No, I'm hungry too, so we won't be long. Um, but tell us about yourself, and when you think about yourself, what comes to mind and all of those things to let us know a little
um,
bit more about you.
Okay, so as you already mentioned, I'm Maggie Chambers, and I am the founder of For Holy, what I call the fun spiritual growth brand. But basically, I've been building this for a couple of years, just a brand where it could be like that go-to brand that Christians can go to just have fun and yet still grow spiritually. So all the products and stuff that I've been working on are products that make you feel happier, grow closer to God, and yet become your best self while keeping God at the center of your life. So yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been working on. And like, I don't know who I am. I just consider myself a creator,
Yeah.
to be honest. Like, if I had to put myself in like one word, or creator, visionary, but yeah, because I just feel like God has given us so many things. And no matter what platform or career or how you choose to express yourself, like we're all creators in some aspect of the way.
Mm, I agree. So if I'm correct, let's back up. I don't want to age us, but let's back up a few years. If I'm correct, you were a fashion major when we were in school together. Is that correct?
Yes, I was a fashion major, and literally I
Mm.
thought fashion was going to be my life. Like
Yeah.
since I was in high school, like that's all I saw for myself. I was like, I'm gonna go to school for fashion, and I'm gonna move to New York City, start my own fashion company, and like I literally that's all I saw for the rest of my life. So it's
So
funny
how do
how
you
life takes a different.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into that. How do you go from being this fashion-minded fashionista? I mean, and I can attest to it. I would see you on campus. Like, of course, if you were to say, "Hey, I'm a fashion major," I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And knowing you for the in that at that time frame, no, that was what you were about. So how do you go from that to For Holy?
Yeah, well, that's pretty interesting story because so I did move out to New York City after graduation. I did start a fashion company. It was a men's fashion company. And I was doing what I love to do. Like I was enjoying myself, enjoying the journey. But as I was building the company, something just didn't sit right with me. Like something, it was more so like I always wanted to use fashion to make a difference in the world. Like I'm all about social entrepreneurship and using your resources to help solve problems and to give back. And I just felt like I wasn't doing that. I felt like I was kind of selling out a little bit. My stuff was
Mm.
like high fashion, very expensive, but I just feel like I wasn't doing really what I wanted to do, more so like what everybody does when they go to fashion school or whatever. Um, so, so I took a step back. Like I decided to put my company on hold and just figure out how I can transition or solve a problem, like solve a major problem using fashion. And as I was doing that, I think like so many things happened in the process of that. Like I also got involved in network marketing, and that is a big part of my story because it kind of took me to where I'm at now, because I got really involved with self-help and like all these personal development and motivational audios, and I really used that time to work on myself. And it was great. Like, I really felt like I was becoming my best self. But the problem was, in that process, I also became my own God. And it was like, although I was
Mm.
like, still referencing God and like, thank God for this and praying and all that stuff, I realized that I was actually putting God on the back burner, and he actually wasn't. I was becoming my own God. It was more so about my plans and what
Mm.
I wanted to do versus what God wanted to do. And if it wasn't for my grandmother, who actually brought me back to this place where it's like, um, like Maggie, like, so I think, so the story goes like, I think that she got really sick of all of this positive thinking talk that I always used to tell her. Like, I'd be like, think
Ah.
positive about this, think positive about that. And my grandma was a pastor at the time. And so I think she
Mm.
got like fed up about it. So one day, we're sitting at the house. I was living with my grandmother at the time, and she has a call from her bank, and the bank is like it was an automated message, and they were telling her to call them back as soon as possible. So she starts freaking out and thinking that someone stole her card, because mom, she's blind as well, so she didn't know what was
Mm.
going on. So she's like, oh my gosh, someone stole my card. I have to call the bank back. And she's like freaking out. I'm like, Grandma, calm down. You have to think positively. Think positively, right? And right then and there, she like looks at me and she's just like, this is how I
Mm.
knew she was just fed up about my positive thinking, because she's just like,
Mm.
Maggie, positive
Mm.
thinking isn't going to change whether someone stole my card or not. And I don't know what it was
Mm.
about those simple words, but her simple words made me think about it for a
Mm.
second, because I knew that she knew what I meant about thinking positively, like affecting her attitude and not necessarily the result. But that's when I realized I had went too far with the positive thinking, because I actually was saying in that moment, without
Mm.
realizing it, that your thoughts in that moment can physically change the situation itself instead of changing your attitude towards the situation. And so that's when I realized that I went too far.
Mm.
And so I was a little scared. Like, I was like, wait. So
Mm.
I'm like, and I like, it was all of this happened at once. Like, I was like, wow, like I really no longer hear God's voice. Like, all I hear is Maggie and my ego. So that was a very defining moment
Wow.
for me, because that was the day I realized I actually need to like get into a Bible study. I need to start reading the Bible, because I couldn't even say like I got saved as a young age, but I couldn't really say that I knew anything about the Bible or anything like that. So I was like, all right,
Mm.
I actually have to get serious about my walk with God, and that's literally when I fully committed myself back to God, got into Bible studies, starting doing devotionals every single day, started journaling. I just got really serious about my walk,
Mm.
and that's during that process was kind of God also exchanging my desires with him. I actually gave room for him to come in and actually exchange my desires with what he wanted for my life, not just what Maggie wanted for my life. And in that process, like I stopped having the desire to do the fashion company that I had put on hold, and God gave me this idea. It was a long time ago. I'm not even going to say the name of the book, but gave me this idea to create this book, um, basically to help other like friends and family. It was like this idea for this guided journal, to help friends and family. Just basically, it was just general positive thinking, or like encouraging messages and daily challenges. And I just wanted to gift it to friends and family for the holidays. But I was like, you
Mm.
know what? As I was working on it, I was like, oh, this actually seems like something kind of cool. But one thing that I said during this process was, I don't want this to be a Christian thing or a God thing. And I was very clear about that, because I was just like, I have friends from all walks of life, and I didn't want to
Mhm.
like alienate them or anything like that. So I just created this book, and it was just like general, like encouraging messages every day for 31 days. And then it had like a challenge on each day. And I put it out there, and it was a complete failure. Like, and not
Mm.
necessarily like people didn't purchase it and stuff like that. Because eventually I went from just selling it to friends and family to just opening up to everybody. Like, I created a blog around this whole book so I can start promoting it. And so I had an email list, but the problem was I had no focus because I wasn't true. Like I felt like God was giving me this idea, but I wasn't true to who I was. I was like I was careful about the kind of messages that I would send out because I would send out encouraging messages every Tuesday. But I didn't want to talk about like Christian things or like scriptures and stuff like that because like I said, I didn't want to alienate my following or my friends. And so that was
Mm,
also like a moment in my life where I had to make a decision, like, are you going to try to market to everyone when you're marketing to no one, or are you going to be authentic and be true to who you are and start focusing on what God is, trying to bring you into? And so I did.
yeah.
I made a decision that I was going to change the name of my blog, and that's how For Holy came about. I changed it. It was called Wind Journal
Mm,
before. Nobody knew what I was saying if I was saying wind, wing, wind. So so a very unsexy name, but I changed it to For Holy to step into this new season that I felt like God was bringing me in. And I did my first, like, sent out my
yeah.
first message. Go ahead.
Yeah. So talk to us about the name for Holy specifically. So walk us through how you came upon that name, if you can.
Um, I don't. It was like 6 years ago, so I'm not exactly sure how it really came about, but it was more so like the name kind of stood for like in my mind I was thinking like this is for God, and so for the Holy One or whatever, and it just I don't know, just one day I had been praying about a name and it just came like For Holy, why not, right? And that's kind of how that name came about, and
Mm,
I looked it up and I saw that it was available, so that was the route that I took with that.
okay. That that always helps. That always helps.
Yeah.
Um, Man, as you're talking, I'm reminded about how much of a entrepreneurial spirit you have, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. You know what I mean? But like, that's what comes to mind because I'm like, dang, she did have a clothing company. It was called Five
Five
Chambers, I believe it
chambers,
was.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, you do. I won't tell everybody all that you do, but you do a myriad of things. Um, Can you tell us where that spirit comes from? And I'm using spirit very loosely, but
Yeah.
like, where does that entrepreneurial spirit come from, you think?
I honestly, I'm not sure. Like, I think when I was younger, like, I guess it's more so not, I don't even think it stemmed from like just an entrepreneurial spirit. It's more so just having the freedom to be creative, having the freedom to just, and never having that pressure from my parents to do certain things. Like I have friends where it's like their parents are like, you have to go to college for this and
Yeah.
that. And I had parents who were very open, was like, whatever you want to do, you can do. And so my mom was very big on like being creative and stuff like that. So my sister and I, when we were younger, we used to get into so much stuff. We used to like tie dye our jeans, and we just used to, we would buy, so our mom would buy like sodas and stuff from Costco, and we were like,
Mm,
well, let's sell them to the neighbors. Like, so we would there was, in the area we grew up in, there was a lot of construction happening, so we would sell it, like the sodas that my mom bought from Costco, to the workers to make some money. And I don't even know what we would buy, but it was just,
mm,
we just did that for fun. And then we would go around to the neighbors' houses and ask them if we can wash their cars. And I just felt like we always were just getting into things, and just trying to like fill our time with something, just to do creative things, to just have fun. And for us, that was just what it was. So I think that, I guess, as a child, having that freedom to do these things kind of just played a huge part in who I became, because I knew I always wanted to have my own business. Like I never, my goal
mm,
was always go to college, start your own company. I don't know where it came from, but that was always inside of me. And like I always wanted that
mm.
freedom to create my own schedule and to do what I wanted to do, and not what somebody's telling me to do.
I love that. I love that. And I would ask this cliche question about like, do you think that it helped you along the way to get to where you are now? But obviously it has. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I don't really have to ask that question, but um not too long ago, I would say maybe 6 or maybe even 9 months ago, I got a text from you asking, hey man, I'm doing sort of like a, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm doing sort of like this focus group because I want to start doing devos and stuff like that. Would you be
Yeah.
open to receiving emails? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like anything, anything for holy, I'm definitely down with, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest. I'm like, okay, this is gonna last maybe a couple of weeks. That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking, right? Forgetting who I'm talking to, really, and you know what I mean, and forgetting, or maybe not even knowing in some instances the drive and the determination. And I don't even want to use those words because we know that there's something intrinsically inside you to do these things. You know what I mean? And moreover, there is the Holy Spirit that is driving you to do these things, and impelling you to do these things. But I didn't think that it would last as long. 9 months in, I'm still getting emails and I get convicted every daggone week because I'm like, I gotta get on this because I love journaling and I love talking to God like in writing form. And if you never tried it, anybody out there listening, if you've never written to the Lord, I implore you to try it
Yes.
and to do it. It will take
100%.
you to places that you never thought. I'll let you speak to that if you can.
Yeah, no, like that was a big part of like me. Like I look at different periods of my life and I say like this last, I guess this latter chapter or the most recent chapter of my life was, and I say, I guess the last 7 years was more so about like me wanting to become all that, God created me to be, and to step into the fullness of what
Yeah.
he created, who he created me to be. And so a huge part of that was journaling. I had mentors that did it all the time. They suggested it and they didn't just talk about it, like they lived these things. Like, I would be around them. They would pull out a book. They would pull out a journal. They would pull out like, a sermon or an audio. And I just saw that. And I saw like how, not saying that they didn't have obstacles or challenges in their lives, but they just were at peace. I saw that they were happier people, you know what I'm saying? And I just really wanted those same results in my life. And they were also like financially successful as well, but that was just more so a result of everything that they were doing internally, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, that was just an
Hmm.
addition. But anyways, but so I just saw that and I was just like, wow, like I really admire that. And so I started journaling. I started journaling my prayers. I started journaling things that I was grateful for. I started journaling my thoughts. And I love it so much because it's like you can look back on your journals from years ago and see where you were and how God brought you through that season. And it's like, wow, if God brought me through that, he can take me through whatever I'm going through at this moment right now. And that's what I love
Absolutely.
so much. I love it. Like, it's one of my favorite things to do, to look back to like, all right, this is August. I don't know what today's day is, 11th. August
Hmm.
11th. So I'll look at August 11th last year, and then the year before that, and the year before that. And yes, I have some crazy consistent themes, but it's still
Hmm.
fun to really do because you're like, wow, like I've grown so much. And it's just always good to have a place where you can chronicle your walk with God and just your life and your journey and your process.
Absolutely. I knew that you would touch on that. I was like, this is her. I'm interviewing her. Let her
Yeah.
speak to this thing. Because yeah, no, like when I would journal, I would be able to look back at certain places to where the Lord brought me from, you know? Or, hey man, I remember I was super worried and concerned about this.
Mm, yeah.
Oh, don't even you shouldn't even worry about that, younger Keith, because the Lord took care of it. And I was speaking to I'm in a creative group called Creative Heads, and we had a meeting last week that kind of turned into a devotional, or a Bible study.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about, it was like, oh, I need to create something in order to look back on, to see where the Lord brought me from. And I said, man, I don't think you know how biblical that is.
Yeah.
Like the Lord would literally tell his people to create monuments, um,
Exactly.
for where the Lord brought you from. And I believe that that is a part of that, being able to write down everything that you're going through, the bare bones, being, stripping yourself naked, being completely, forget transparent, being vulnerable with the Lord, because He already knows anyway, and
Yeah.
being able to look back on that and saying, like, look at where God brought me from. But with that, I was saying you do devotionals. So what do your devotionals entail, and how do you come about like what what is your process, if you can tell us that, because I know you are an artist.
No,
So
I'm
as
happy to
much as
share.
you can tell us about your process in creating devotionals.
Yeah, so literally, I think it's 100% the Holy Spirit. Because when I tell you, if you
Mm,
would have told me, as we've talked about before in college, that I would be writing, what? Like, I would have
mm,
laughed at you. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I was
mm,
actually always one to express myself through writing. So actually, that's not true. Like, I used to write, when you used to write notes in school to friends and stuff like that, mine would be super long, or
yeah.
if I had like strong feelings towards my like high school like boyfriends and stuff, like I would be writing these long notes and long text messages and stuff. So I was always felt like I expressed myself better through writing. um but
Yeah.
yeah, like literally my process has been like, Lord, like give me a message today, like, and I literally pray before I write anything. Like I'm always praying, like, what do you want to say through me to your people, give me a word. And I promise you, like, he has not failed me. I've been doing this for
Mm,
almost 7 years. Every single week for 7 years, I have written a message and sent it out consistently. And he has not failed me yet.
wow.
Like there's always something that he wants me to say. And a lot of it is my personal journey. Like I do talk, like use my stories as a way to segue like into like maybe a Bible story or just a message that God has placed on my heart. And then sometimes I might use other people's stories or whatever, something that maybe I heard or, but a lot of it is my walk, and I try to be as transparent as possible, as I mean, as much as I can be. Of course, if I'm using a
Yeah.
story about
Yeah.
somebody else, I won't give specific details, but like, yeah, I think that has been helpful. That's one thing that people tell me that they really appreciate about my writing, because it's like, I'm just being real. Like,
Mm,
in the beginning,
yeah.
I couldn't find my writing voice. And I think that was because I wasn't being true to who I was. And I was trying to be like all these other, bloggers and speakers out there. And like, I was just trying to write just a robotic message. But the moment I just stopped caring about grammar, stopped caring about all these things and just write, like just talking, like I feel like I write how I talk to a friend. And I always read back my devotionals and I'm like, would you say this to
Hmm.
your friend? And I'm like, no, I probably wouldn't say it like this. Then I go back and edit it out, because it's like I want it to be where it's like you're reading something that could be like a conversation, that you can really relate to and apply to your life, versus something that you're like, wow, this is so great. And I take a lot from it, but it's like this, I just can't relate to the situation.
Hmm. How would you say journaling and devoing has affected, I want to say, your prayer life, but moreover your walk entirely with the Lord? Well, I
Um,
think that's a compound question, but I am asking both. So like in your prayer life, how has it affected it, you think, if at all? And B, but more importantly, your walk with the Lord.
okay, like I'll take it first. Okay, the prayer life. I think
Hmm.
that sometimes, half the time, like when I start journaling, like I'm just like journaling my thoughts, but then like I'm like journaling to God. Like it'll be like halfway through, it's just like I'm really like just talking to God about like just everything that's going on. And so I just feel like it's helped me to have a more intimate relationship with God, because like, yeah, in my prayers I do the same thing too, like as I'm praying and I'm speaking freely and everything like that. But like I said, like sometimes I feel like I express myself best through writing. So sometimes it's just easier to get it all out, that way. So
Hmm.
I feel like that's been helpful. And then I also, like, as you're writing, like I feel like, there are many times where the Holy Spirit, like I feel just just gives me that encouragement too. So a lot of like my journals, you'll see at the end, like I'll be frustrated. Say I'm like in a frustrated place, but then at the end, I'm just like, well, God is faithful. You know, I know He's gonna come through for me, and I notice
Yeah.
that I always end like in a positive note. You know, or if it's a
Yeah.
question, because I'm not gonna say always, but like a lot of the time. Um, and so I think that so to answer your question about the prayer life, I think it's just helped me to have a more intimate relationship with God. And then the other half of your question was, I forgot. Go ahead.
No, just your overall walk with the Lord, you know.
Oh, okay. You were saying devotionals and stuff like, oh yeah, because
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm writing and I'm doing my best to encourage other people, it's always a message for me
Mm.
too, and for me first. Sometimes
Absolutely.
I need that reminder. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? So like as I'm writing to other people, I'm
Absolutely.
also talking to me. Like look, like you know, God is saying this to you too. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Um, I know the Apostle Paul talks about that, and I don't want to misquote him, but he does speak to that. Like, hey, man, when I'm sharing this with you, like the Lord has already took me through this process, or I'm going through it as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about the journal specifically. So you're doing a campaign, correct? You're doing you have a physical journal that you plan to, there's a campaign of some sort. So if you could, elaborate on that, because I don't want to jack it up. And how
Yeah.
can we support you in that?
Yeah, so I guess it's been since we have 7 days left in the campaign, over 20 days. Let's just say that about
Yeah.
23 days ago, I launched a Kickstarter campaign for a product I've been working on called Devo Journal, and that's the beginning of what you mentioned earlier. When you were like, I was doing like a survey and surveying people. I was just trying to get feedback on something I actually started 5 years ago but never felt like God was giving me the
Mm,
green light to move forward. Every time I would move forward, I tried to move forward with it. I just felt like lack of peace, lack of sleep, and that God's like, not now, not now. So finally, during the pandemic, I felt like God was
mm,
giving me the green light to pursue it. So that's when I started like doing surveys and everything and really getting a lot of feedback about this. And then eventually we launched 23 days ago on Kickstarter. So you can definitely support
nice.
there. Devo Journal is a 13-week devotional journal that helps you include God in your daily routine. So it has devotionals in it. It has daily journal prompts, weekly activities, and just all these things to really help you to grow closer to God and to just live fuller and also to achieve your daily goals and be more grateful as well. A lot of the journal prompts, gratitude is a huge thing that I'm big on, and so it starts every day starts with you writing at least three things that you're grateful for.
So Kickstarter is, you're trying to raise money. So why do you need money for this in order to
Yeah,
do it? Why
so
not just put out the book and let it be what it is?
yeah, no, that's actually an excellent question. So, a question that I've gotten often, like, why even use Kickstarter? So, for those who are unfamiliar, Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform, and it basically helps people bring their products to market and get in front of more people because they already have a platform with millions of people that back projects. So, it just helps you to get your product in front of more people. So that's why I decided to use Kickstarter because I felt like it was the best platform for me to put my devotional journal out there. Eventually, we will be selling through the website. But yeah, this was just to help us to get also the startup capital to be able to place the manufacturing order. So a lot of times when you work with different factories and stuff, they have a minimum order quantity. So in order to reach that minimum order quantity, doing something like a crowdfunding platform where people pre-order the product up front will help you have the capital to be able to start the process of building your business and manufacturing.
Nice. Clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, because I know that there's a reason, you know what I mean? Like, this is just, I'm asking that question for the person is like, well, where can I purchase the book? You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um,
Great question.
so I don't want to say better, but what makes your book different from other devos? And what makes it, and I'll keep saying book, but what makes your journal different from other devotional journals? I mean, it's all for the kingdom, it's all for the glory of God, but what makes yours unique?
Yeah, no, that's an amazing question. So one thing that I wanted to create was I had a problem with like what I see, what happened most of the time for me was like I would have a journal, I would have my Bible, and then I would have a devotional. And it's like three books. And I would be like, okay, so say I missed doing my devotions in the morning. It's like I'm not taking this with me. And like, I have a very active lifestyle. So I'm like, well, why do we have all these different books for like, why can't we just have it all in one? So that's where this
Mm,
idea kind of also blossomed into to create an all-in-one devotional journal. So Devo Journal actually is a combination of has features of 5 books in one. So you have a devotional book, you have your activity book, you have a weekly planner, you have blank dot grid pages, and then you also have like a daily journal like prompts and everything in it. So it's like you have features of all these books. Instead of having a separate book for each time of the day, you can just have a small, portable, like, compact book that you can carry with you. And you can do it anywhere at any time, because I know that in the Christian community, everybody's like, do your devotions in the morning, which I agree is a great time to do your devotions, because it sets the tone for each day. But not everybody's
yeah.
schedule works out like that. Not everybody's work schedule
Mm,
works out like that. Maybe you're out, or maybe you're working an overnight shift or something like that. So having something like this where you can take with you and do at any time of day is could be really helpful
mm,
for somebody. So that's where this kind of idea kind of blossomed into, other than like, just wanting to grow spiritually and having something. And then also like all the devotionals that I saw, all the journals that I saw, um, I never could find one like most of them look like just workbooks, like just paperback workbooks where it's like, they had devotionals in it and then like maybe questions or whatever, but it was like a workbook. I wanted something that felt special, something that was like vegan leather or leather, but we chose to use vegan leather because it's sustainable, more sustainable,
it's a
or
very,
animal friendly.
from what I've seen, yeah, from what I've seen, it's a very nice looking uh cover. It's
Thank you.
it looks like leather,
Yeah, it's actually
right?
it's vegan leather. So we were trying to be animal friendly with
Mm,
this.
what's
But yeah,
vegan
it is
leather?
very high quality vegan leather, and it just makes it look good and it makes you feel good, while you're writing it and everything. So it's not just a workbook that rips up and then you're like, well, I gotta throw this away. When you can actually keep it and it makes you feel special, or and I think that's important sometimes, to have something that makes you. Because I don't know if it's just me, like when I used to shop for like even sketchbooks, like when I was doing fashion, like I would spend hours in like an art store finding the perfect book, that because it's just, I don't know, it's just something about finding something that just, it looks special and makes you feel special and helps you to really like know that, okay, if I put something in this, it's something that I would like to keep as a great memory and it won't fall apart,
Very good,
if that makes
very
any
good.
sense.
So I think we it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. Um, we talked about how we got to this point, and we talked about like I think a large part of why you're doing what you're doing is because of who you are, and more importantly because of who God made you. All of that is kind of understood, but if we really peered in on the why, you know what I mean, like we can do, like I was saying, I'm like, man, this is probably going to last for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. She's not going to do this forever, and I'm still not saying you're going to do this forever. God might take, and I'm pretty sure God is going to take you elsewhere and do other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Although this is a pretty great thing, but can you talk more about like like why is this really pressing upon your heart to do this?
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of touched on it a little bit when I was telling this story about like, how my
Right.
grandma kind of like was that person that helped me to get back into that place with God. Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, like it's something that I'm extremely passionate about like helping people to step into their purpose and become their best self. Like I've always felt like that was a purpose that God had for me is to help people to step into that. So I wanted, obviously first me, I had to do that with me. And I'm not saying that I'm always going to be a student for life. So I'm growing
Mm,
always, and I will grow for the
mm,
rest of my life. I'm going to be a student for life. But
mm,
that's kind of where that passion came from. I really, that brings me, that makes my heart sing. It gives me the most joy to help people, um,
yeah.
just really step into their purpose and like use whatever God has given you, the talents, the gifts, the skills, the ideas, to just make a difference in the world in some way. That's what makes my heart sing. So my prayer is that by even just taking these steps to like build this daily habit, every single day, by spending time with God every day, that you will find your purpose in Christ, and He will help you to step into that as well. So that's kind of where all this, like the bigger vision of what I want for this journal. And I think it just starts simply with you spending time with God each day, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. That's a start, to get you to help to grow spiritually. And also because I was that person where I was that Christian where I thought that I was like in a good place, but I actually didn't know what I didn't know. If that makes any sense, like I
Mm,
kind of, yeah, I just
yeah.
was a stagnant Christian. And it really took
Mm,
just doing some of these things to help me to grow, and then surrounding myself also with other mature believers to realize that, wow, like you have a lot of growing to do. So just like I said, I'm very big on just starting small with these small things, like even if it's just journaling or doing small things will eventually lead to big results.
wow. Wow. Amen. Amen. Maggie, tell us what the website is, where we can support you, how we can support you, how and how we can support the journal and all of that, and how we can obtain it and all, just the whole shebang. How do we get involved?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think the best way to go, because we are on Kickstarter right now, because that link is super long. I
Mm,
think the best place to go is to forholy.com. So forholy.com. And then you'll see a big banner at the top that says live on Kickstarter now. You can click that button and it will take you directly to the Kickstarter campaign so you can support before our campaign is over. We're also on social media. So we're on Instagram at For Holy Co, TikTok For Holy, Facebook.com/For Holy. So it's really easy to find us if you type in For Holy on social media. And the link will be in all those locations for you to go directly to Kickstarter to support. And I appreciate every one of you who do
nice.
support.
Absolutely. How much money do you want us to donate?
Well, there are different pledge rewards. So okay, no, this is actually really important to
Hmm.
cover. So on Kickstarter, because it can
Hmm.
be a little confusion,
Hmm.
there are reward levels, and each reward is basically that's just your purchase. So whether you want to, the reward is because it's pre-ordering, they call it a reward. So there are different tiers. So you can order one Devo journal, you can do two, or you can do five. So whichever one you would like. It's always the more that you purchase, the greater the discount. So just keep that in mind. So if you want to buy one for you and a friend, it's a better discount than just buying one at one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maggie, before I let you go, is there anything that I missed? Anything that you want to say before I let you go?
Um, I guess the only thing left to really say is that, whoever is watching this, whatever it is that you feel like God's placing on your heart to do, just go after it. Honestly, I really just feel strongly about that. And I just pray
Mm,
that, this interview or just hearing a little bit about my story will encourage you to go after your dreams and the things that God has placed on your heart.
awesome. Maggie, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Um, um, Godspeed, blessings, all the good things that come from heaven, rain down on what God is doing through you and through your ministry. I appreciate you. Once again, the website is
Thank you.
forholy.com. You
Yes,
can
correct.
find her on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, I think
We
you
are on
said.
TikTok.
She has intriguing, yeah, she's definitely on TikTok. I see the post on Instagram. Intriguing content. I just have I see this stuff and I'm like, oh, I wonder how I can help. One day, one day we'll get there. But she's doing a great job. It's intriguing content. It's great stuff to watch and apply to your everyday life. Ladies and gentlemen, of forholy.com, Maggie Chambers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maggie. Uh, I'm gonna end the broadcast. I don't know how to. I hope it don't end in this.